So in this example, we're looking at trying to find the perimeter of the given triangle here. So the first thing you want to do is just plot the points. So we're looking at the picture. So we have negative 3, 4. It's going to be A, 1, 7, and then 7, negative 1. So we plot. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the perimeter. So perimeter means that you need to add all the sides. So perimeter is going to be add all sides. So what that means is you have to know the length of each of these sides. So in order to find the length of any segment, you're going to use the distance formula. So distance formula is a change in x's squared plus the change in y's squared, all under the square root. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do the distance formula 3 times. You've got to find the distance of segment AB. So when we go to plug that in, it's going to be 1 minus negative 3. Remember that the order that you subtract these doesn't really make a difference. You just have to make sure you're consistent. So if I do second minus first, then just make sure you do the second minus the first for the y's. So 1 minus negative 3 plus the change in y's, 7 minus 4. So we end up with 4 squared plus 3 squared. Make sure you're keeping those in parentheses. And once you square these, you should always have positive numbers here. So 16 plus 9 gives me the square root of 25. So when you reduce that, you'll get 5. So the length of side AB is 5. Then we're going to move on to the next side, which I'll just do BC. The order that you do these doesn't really make a difference either. So BC is going to be 7 minus 1 plus the change in y's, negative 1 minus 7. So it'll be 6 squared plus negative 8 squared. So 36. And then remember, when you square a negative, it's going to become positive, so that'll become 64. And this will give you the square root of 100 when you add them, which reduces down to 10. And then the last set of sides, so that's going to be 10. Then the last side here is going to be side AC. So side AC, we're going to subtract 7 minus negative 3 squared. And then we're going to subtract the y's, negative 1 minus 4. So we add these, we end up with 10, negative 5 when we combine those. So then square each piece, so we have 100 plus 25. Make sure when you square that negative, it's becoming positive. This gives us the square root of 125. Now it doesn't say that we have to do this in simplest radical form, but most of the time you're going to have to do it in simplest radical form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the square root of 125, I'm going to break it down. So I'm looking for the largest perfect square that will multiply by another number to get 125. So the largest perfect square is going to be 25, and it's going to be 25 times 5 gives me 125. So 25 reduces down to 5, so this is really going to be 5 radical 5. So side AC has a length of 5 radical 5. So then when you go to do the perimeter, which is the last step, you don't want to forget about that step, that's the most important part, you're going to add your 3 side lengths. So it's going to be 5, so 5 plus the 10 plus the 5 radical 5. And radicals are kind of like when you're adding algebraic expressions, you can only combine like terms. So my like terms are going to be the 5 and the 10, so I combine those, I get 15, and then I'm just going to keep that 5 radical 5. And the units would just be units because perimeter, you just keep the units. If it were area, then you square them. But for perimeter, you're just combining like terms. You're just adding, so you keep the units as is.